posted some information that was, basically trying to save my life. And thank goodness to my ex, the wonderful Kim Porter, the late Kim Porter, who, kind of warned me all along the way to, just kind of watch your back, so on and so forth. And I didn't understand why.
Because of Diddy.
Basically.
Someone cheats and they have a child with someone else, that's my boundary. That's, for me, that's where I draw the line. And so with that happening, it made it a little easier to leave.
And longtime girlfriend of entertainer Sean Diddy Combs, Kim Porter, was laid to rest yesterday in her hometown of Columbus, Georgia. Funeral taking place at Cascade Hills Church. Porter leaves behind 3 children with Combs and an older son by singer Al B. Shore. Celebrity pastor T.D. Jakes did the eulogy for the funeral. Porter was found dead in her Los Angeles home last Thursday. Authorities say she went into cardiac arrest while fighting flu-like symptoms. She was 47 years old.
At the night before Kim Porter passed, that she group text some close friends saying that he got me.
No one expected Al B. Sure to speak up, let alone drop bombshells that would leave one of the most powerful men in music visibly shaken in court. But that's exactly what happened. In a testimony that's already being whispered about behind closed doors, Al didn't just speak, he exposed. What started as a reflection on his painful past with Sean Diddy Combs quickly spiraled into a dark web of warnings, sudden deaths, and chilling coincidences. And at the center of it all, the late Kim Porter, the things Al claims she told him, the things she may have known before her untimely death, none of it adds up to a clean, simple tragedy. What he said in court might not just rewrite their history, it could change how we see the entire industry.
But one thing is, you have volunteered to testify at the trial, correct?
Not as of yet. Actually, I was subpoenaed.
Okay.
So my attorneys worked something out. So I believe when the time is right, I'm going to discuss it with my attorneys.
But you're willing to?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, I am.
According to Al, Kim Porter didn't just have secrets. She had fears. Real ones. Fears she voiced repeatedly before her sudden passing in 2018. She allegedly warned him more than once to watch his back. And it wasn't said lightly. These weren't vague gut feelings or emotional outbursts. Al paints the picture of a woman who knew something dangerous, and was trying to protect someone before it was too late. Kim was only 47 when she died. Official reports claimed it was pneumonia, but Al doesn't buy that for a second.
Basically.
Do you believe that she died of pneumonia?
Absolutely not.
Why? What evidence do you have?
She was in the best of health. We just saw each other prior to her passing. We were actually celebrating our son's new Netflix Christmas special, and she was doing just fine.
Especially not when just days earlier, she'd been full of life, celebrating her son Quincy's Netflix deal. She was surrounded by friends, family, and both Al and Diddy. But behind those smiles, Al suggests, was a tension no one else noticed, a feeling that the walls were closing in.
In fact, we were all at the event together at Netflix in the lobby. Sean, myself, the children, all having a great time. And I'm, grabbing Sean like, what? And she's in the back going, stop, So it was a really festive opportunity just for all of us to be together, because it's nothing like the circus that's out here. So it was a lot of the stuff, came to surprise, but a lot of the stuff will be revealed and that's why I thought it would be a good idea to finally tell my story. Every network came.
Al B sure didn't stop with vague warnings or emotional memories. He went straight into the unsettling details. According to him, when Kim was found, there was blood on her pillow and on the floor. Not just a little, enough to raise eyebrows, if anyone had been paying attention. But Al says those details were either ignored or conveniently left out of official reports. He claims that no one wanted to ask the hard questions, and the ones who did were quickly dismissed. The night before her death, Kim had been with both Al and Diddy. It was supposed to be a celebration, a moment of success for Quincy, but Al remembers something else lingering in the air that night, a kind of tension that no one could quite name, but everyone felt. And then, the next morning, she was gone. Years after Kim's death, Al faced his own brush with the end. And it wasn't just a medical emergency, according to him. In 2022, he was placed in a coma, suffering from what doctors called multi-organ failure. But Al believes it wasn't just bad luck or health complications. He says it was deliberate, that someone wanted him gone. He even goes as far as to claim there was a bounty on his head placed by people connected to the same circle he's now speaking out against.
Specifically then, that Sean Diddy Combs or people affiliated with him did something to you that caused you to have multi-organ failure.
I believe this to be the case, yes. Absolutely.
Wow.
We are going to witness the Albie Shoreline story. So hold on to your britches, and you'll really understand how I ended up in a coma. You're really going to need to call Homeland Security.
While media outlets reported it like a health scare, Al insists it was part of a bigger plan to silence him. And for years, anyone who questioned the official story, him included, was labeled delusional, unstable, or just looking for attention. But now, with everything coming to light, he's asking people to take another look. Because maybe his coma wasn't just a tragedy. Maybe it was a warning. This is where the story shifts from disturbing to downright chilling. According to Al, Kim Porter had been working on a memoir before her death. Not a light, glossy autobiography, but a raw, unfiltered tell-all that could have shattered reputations. The manuscript, Al claims, was filled with details about Diddy's behavior behind closed doors. Things like him bugging her home, cutting her off from friends, and even physically abusing her, including breaking her nose.
Speaking of Kim Porter, because you knew Kim Porter, is it true that Diddy broke her nose?
Bust her nose, man. You know, but it was all, insecurities. Anytime a man would go out his way to wiretap someone's phone or put taps in their homes just to monitor their conversation, that's a sign of insanity.
And it didn't stop there. Al says Kim was pressured into degrading sexual acts, the kind of stories that don't just ruin careers, they destroy legacies. But here's the twist. That manuscript, it vanished. Completely. What the public got instead was a sanitized version of Kim's story, allegedly pushed out under her name, but stripped of anything controversial. To this day, many close to Kim believe that the real book, the one she actually wrote, was either buried or rewritten entirely to protect the powerful people it might have exposed. Al doesn't think Kim's death, or the disappearance of her memoir, was an isolated event. In fact, he draws a disturbing pattern. Kim Porter, Andre Harrell, Heavy D. All of them had deep ties to Diddy. All of them were reportedly working on memoirs, documentaries, or projects that could have pulled back the curtain on what really happens behind the scenes in the industry. And all of them died before they could finish. Al's not saying it outright, but he's pointing to a timeline that feels too perfect to be coincidence. He notes that of that original inner circle, only 2 people are still alive: Diddy and himself. And the implication hangs heavy. Maybe survival isn't just about luck. Maybe it's about silence. Just when you think the story can't get any darker, Al drops something that flips decades of hip-hop history on its head. He suggests that the East Coast-West Coast feud, the very conflict that led to the deaths of Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G., might not have been about music beef at all. According to him, it may have been orchestrated. A calculated distraction used to shift control of music rights and silence voices that were getting too loud. And Kim, Al says, knew this. She reportedly had information that connected those feuds to deeper business motives. Not street rivalry, but ownership, manipulation, and power grabs behind the scenes. If what Al's saying is true, then the most iconic and tragic feud in hip-hop wasn't just deadly, it was a smokescreen, and the people who understood the full picture, one by one, they disappeared. Al doesn't just hint at danger, he also hints at secrets. Ones that could send shockwaves through the industry if ever confirmed. Among the most controversial claims is that Kim Porter had knowledge of Diddy's alleged romantic relationships with male artists. One name that keeps coming up? Usher. According to Al, Kim's unfinished memoir included details and insinuations that tied Usher directly into the web of personal entanglements and power dynamics swirling around Diddy.
I mentioned that earlier, that he said about Stevie J. The Usher part, that's a touchy situation, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a certain feeling and I felt a certain way when Usher got on Shay Shay and I don't mean to mention other people's platforms, but he got on Shay Shay and he mentioned how great and how good Puff taught him and everything. You know what I'm saying? About the business. I know, and people know, that was around that in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital.
While these claims have always lived in the shadows of tabloid whispers, Al's testimony suggests they were taken seriously, at least by Kim. And if that's true, it adds a whole new layer to why her voice and her book needed to be silenced. Because in an industry built on image, masculinity, and control, the truth behind those relationships could crack the foundation wide open. Despite everything, being labeled unstable, nearly losing his life, and watching people around him fall, Al B. sure hasn't backed down. In fact, he's doubling down. He's now preparing to release his own memoir titled, Do You Believe Me? And it promises to blow the lid off everything he's hinted at so far. The book will cover his coma, the secrets he claims Kim shared with him, and the years of manipulation and silence surrounding Diddy's inner circle. Al says he's not doing this for fame or money. He says he's doing it because the truth has to come out. After years of being called a conspiracy theorist or dismissed as bitter, he's finally putting it all in one place. And if even half of what he's saying is true, the music industry isn't ready. Now that the pieces are on the table, the pattern is hard to ignore. A vibrant woman dies under mysterious circumstances after warning the man she once loved to watch his back. Blood on the pillow, a missing manuscript, friends silenced before they could speak. A man slips into a coma, wakes up, and starts connecting the dots. And each one leads back to the same circle of influence, the same power center. Al B. Sure's story isn't just about Diddy, it's about control, about what happens when people get too close to telling the truth in an industry that doesn't forgive exposure. So, the question lingers. Was Kim trying to warn us all? And if she was, why didn't we listen? Al says the full truth is coming in his book, but we'll be here breaking it down first. Make sure you're subscribed because what's coming next might be even darker.